What up, everybody? The 4 Season 3 trailer revealed that Tommy and CBI are gonna split up in Season 3. After in Season 2, CBI rose to new heights, forming a coalition with all the gangs and replacing the Serbs as distro for the Estrada cartel. But as CBI was winning in Season 2, behind the scenes there was a whole lot going on, setting the stage for everything to come crumbling down in Season 3. At the end of Season 2, we already saw Diamond start to question Tommy's moves when Tommy made a solo call to keep Vic Flynn alive after they found out he was a snitch and had agreed to have Vic killed and his body buried. And Diamond isn't the only person watching Tommy's moves. Whether Tommy realizes it or not, the other soldiers in CBI is watching the moves he's making, and some of the things he's doing, they might start to see Tommy as weak, ultimately leading to Tommy losing the locker room. Because we already know that Diamond didn't agree at all with Tommy's solo decision to keep Vic Flynn alive, feeling like Tommy was putting him in danger of going back to prison. But what are all the other soldiers gonna think when they find out that Vic is a snitch and Tommy's giving him a pass and letting him live? This could easily be something that Gennard could use to his advantage to get in people's ears about Tommy. Because at the end of the day, would Tommy have given the same pass to anybody else who's in CBI? There was an episode earlier in Season 2 when Tommy had caught Diamond in a lie and thought he was snitching after seeing him with Seamus. And Tommy even pulled a gun on Diamond and specifically asked Diamond how they handle snitches in Chicago, because in New York, they bury them. So Tommy keeping Vic alive and not killing him and burying his body even goes against what Tommy has told Diamond before. Not to mention Tommy was real convinced that it was either Gennard or Shanti who was the snitch. And if one of them was the snitch, do we really think that Tommy would have gave the same courtesy to one of them or any other member of CBI for that matter? So when the word starts to spread around to the CBI soldiers that Vic is a snitch and Tommy gave him a pass, CBI soldiers are going to start questioning Tommy and why he's keeping Vic Flynn alive, and could even start seeing him as weak. Then to make things even worse for Tommy, Gennard could really flip this whole situation if he wanted to and make it look like Tommy letting Vic live has something to do with Vic being white. Keeping in mind that Tommy capped Chewie in Season 2 for switching sides, a decision that a lot of people didn't agree with, including Diamond, but wasn't questioned like that either because it's part of the game. And if anything, it made Tommy look strong and dangerous. But with Tommy capping Chewie and letting Vic live, that could cause even more problems with CBI soldiers looking at Tommy like he's subjective and has different rules for everybody. So keeping Vic alive could end up not only causing Diamond to start second guessing Tommy, but also the CBI soldiers. But keeping Vic alive might not be the only thing that makes Diamond and the CBI soldiers start questioning Tommy and looking at him like he's weak. In Season 2, Tommy had Big Smurf and Bones snatch up D-Mac and take him to that boarding school, only for D-Mac to escape the boarding school and come back to Chicago. Now when Smurf and Bones were doing this, it didn't really show any conversation between them or how they were feeling about doing that. But they could have definitely been thinking that Tommy has them doing errands instead of hustling or whatever they normally be doing. Going back to OG Power, when Tommy had his crew going on missions, they used to be talking amongst each other about the stuff that Tommy was having them do. And even if Bones and Smurf didn't have a problem with taking D-Mac to that boarding school, D-Mac escaping and coming back to Chicago and getting in even more trouble again could have Smurf and Bones looking at Tommy like he doesn't have any control and starting to see him as weak, and he can't even get control over a kid. Then there's also the fact that after D-Mac killed Mad Dog, King Kilo's nephew, Diamond agreed to let Jannard tell Kilo that when he got out of prison, they would hand D-Mac over to him. And even though I like D-Mac's character and hope nothing happens to him, Diamond isn't completely wrong for plotting to have something done to D-Mac behind Tommy's back. Going back to before Tommy sent D-Mac to the boarding school, and Diamond told Tommy that D-Mac had to go, and if he doesn't get rid of him, he will. So Diamond did warn Tommy, only for D-Mac to come back and create even more problems. So not only could Tommy's lack of control over D-Mac make him look weak to the CBI soldiers, but D-Mac himself is a weakness when it comes to Tommy as an attachment. But D-Mac isn't the only attachment that Tommy has that could be looked at as a weakness. There's also Mira. Jannard caught Tommy and Mira kissing outside of Tommy's place and eventually sent the picture to Miguel, causing him to do something with Mira that has Tommy going crazy. We saw him lose his temper at the end of season 2 when Miguel answered Mira's phone. Now with the exclusive season 3 clip released a couple days ago, which is likely one of the first scenes from season 3, if not the first scene, that shows Tommy showing up in Miguel's spot and losing it. Tommy probably drove straight over to Miguel's spot as soon as they got off the phone. But this scene definitely has Tommy looking weak over Mira, with him acting desperate, like he doesn't care if he lives or dies, only worried about Mira. Miguel should tell Tommy that desperation doesn't suit him, like Dean once told Unique in Raising Kanan. But with Tommy showing up at Miguel's spot acting crazy, we got to believe that this word's gonna get back to Diamond. And again, this is gonna be another decision that Tommy made that Diamond doesn't agree with. Keeping in mind that Diamond already warned Tommy not to mess with Mira and that she's off limits. But in addition to Diamond already warning Tommy about Mira, CBI had just shook hands with Miguel in front of Che and agreed for peace, only for Tommy to show up at Miguel's spot with a gun. So Diamond could also be thinking Tommy's putting their business in jeopardy over his emotions and a female. Not to mention when the CBI soldiers hear about how emotional Tommy got and what he did, this could be another reason why they start looking at Tommy like he's weak. But in addition to things like Vic, Flynn, Mireille, and D-Mac having Diamond and the rest of CBI questioning Tommy's leadership, also working behind the scenes is Jannard and Shanti plotting to take back CBI. And because of the fact we know Tommy will become a lone wolf in season 3, also makes me believe that to some extent this plan is going to work. At the end of season 2, Jannard asked Diamond the question if they need him, talking about Tommy. And at that point, Diamond still had trust in Tommy. But this was before Diamond found out D-Mac was back in Chicago and that Tommy kept Vic Flint alive. But moving forward, in addition to finding out Tommy's in a relationship with Mireille Garcia, Diamond's attitude towards Tommy is going to change. Either though at the beginning of season 3, Diamond will still be loyal to Tommy, as the trailer has Diamond telling Jannard that Tommy's his partner. But Jannard will continue to try to divide and conquer, as the trailer also has Jannard telling Diamond Tommy's gonna blow all this shit up, and Tommy's the reason why motherfuckers are getting shot. And in another scene, ultimately telling the CBI crew that they have to pick a side and pick it now. So like I said, Tommy's not gonna only lose Diamond's trust, but the trust of CBI as a whole, essentially losing the locker room and handing the power over to Jannard. And there you have it. Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.